have an opportunity to be able to turn a knob, to be able to drive a car. So they went ahead and went with the surgery. Well, 31 years later, you can see that I am some good. So what they thought was going to happen didn't happen. When I went to public school, the school board told my parents I need to go to a school for children with special needs. They didn't test me mentally. They didn't know if I can learn on a regular pace, but they saw something different, so they wanted to nip it in the bud early. And so my dad was a fighter. He said, no, why does she need to go to a special school? She went to preschool, Head Start, kindergarten, and had a regular school life. We want her to go to public school. So during my first year of elementary school, I was going to play therapy, and I was going to all the doctors and taking all different exams that no other first grader was taking. However, because I passed all those exams, I was able to go to public school. And that's when life started happening. That's when reality hit me that, oh, I must be different from everyone else. I'm not normal, I guess, or what society considers normal. That's when I began to get picked on, when I began to get bullied, when people were calling me names, alien, running from me, not wanting me to touch them because they were afraid of me because my hands were different than what they would normally see. And so that kind of got my self-esteem low. As a child, I hid my arms. You wouldn't catch me wearing anything with short sleeves. I don't care if it's 100 degrees outside. I would not wear short sleeves because I was that self-conscious about my difference, not my disability, and I'll explain why I don't call it a disability anymore, but my difference. It was maybe about 5th grade, and I was at my aunt's house for the summer. And the only way I could go outside is if I didn't hide my arms. Because I would pull my arms in my sleeve, and I would only wear something where I could do this so that no one will see my hands. That was my defense mechanism. But she told me that if I did not leave my arms out, and if she caught me outside hiding my arms, then I would have to come back in the house, and that I wouldn't be able to go back outside. Now, I'm still a kid, so I still want to play, I still want to go outside, I still want to live life. So I started showing my arms. After a while, it became a habit. You know, after you do something so long, you can't go back to doing what you used to do, and that's what it was for me. It became a habit for me to show my arms. It became a habit for me to just say, oh, well, I forgot. I started forgetting that I had something different about me than everyone else. What would help me remember is when I was around new people and they would stare or they would move away from me. But my parents would always tell me, you're beautiful. They would always deposit those positive things inside of me. So then I started to believe those things. My sister said something to me that really, really helped me turn over all of those stumbling blocks that was coming to me with my difference. And that was, she said to me, she said, baby, most of those people that's talking about you, I guarantee you, if you pay attention to them, they have something wrong with them that they want to hide, so they project their feelings onto you. And I went to school, and I was paying close attention to how the people that were really treating me cruel, I was trying to find out what the difference was with them. Well, one particular girl that picked on me all the time, 4th grade, 5th grade, and here it is, we're in 6th grade, and she's still picking on me. I paid attention to her. She was petite, she was short, and before I came to the school, she was the one being bullied. So she didn't want to be bullied anymore, so she found someone else to bully. And so I stood up to her one time. She didn't know I was taking martial arts. I stood up to her one time, and that one time I stood up to her, I didn't even have to fight her. Just merely swinging on her and letting her know I'm going to stand up for myself, made her leave me alone, and she never bothered me again. Now, there was one particular guy at lunch every day. He would four-finger Nina. I paid attention to him. And so it took a whole week of me paying attention to him. And I called on Monday. Oh, I know why he's calling me four-finger Nina. So on Friday, we get to school, we get to lunch. I said, if I'm going to get in trouble, I'm going to get in as talkative as I am now because I kept, if I talked, then people would look at me. And I didn't want people to look at me. I was my own stumbling block. What I call my hands now is my hidden treasure because I was hiding them so much, but I needed to let them out because I like to now show people if I can do it, you can do it. I like to now show people that anything that you have that you feel is different from somebody else, it shouldn't be a limitation, it should be a benefit. You have to look at what you think is a stumbling block or what you think is something that's hindering you. How can it help you? My hands help me because it helps people. People do pay attention to me. They want to know what happened. They want to know. And it's natural and it's okay. Because once I tell you what happened and no one knows exactly, my mom, when she was pregnant with me, she did have cervical cancer. But the doctors never said that's why my hands came out the way they did. But I don't care. I say it's because this is the way God wanted me to be. And I'm okay with that now. But it took for me to overcome all the name calling, all the stares, kids running from me, adults running from me. Believe it or not, I was around a young lady, she was pregnant, and I would get close to her and she would quickly move. And for a while I didn't understand why she's moving away from me. And then she said, well, I don't want my baby to come out with hands like yours. You never know the things you would hear just by looking different. But if you don't build that self-esteem up within yourself, if you don't realize who you are, if you don't know your identity, if you don't know your own strengths, those people will knock you down and you will stay down. But you have to realize your own identity, your own values, your own uniqueness, and be bold and courageous within those uniqueness. Be bold and courageous with who you are because no one else can be you. Even if you have a twin. Anyone in the room is a twin? Is there any twins in the room? No? But if you have a twin, if you know someone who's a twin, they're still individuals. I love watching Tia and Tamara. But Tia is Tia and Tamara is Tamara. They look different if you really look at them. They act different. They like different things. People are different. There are no two people that are exactly the same. So I took that stumbling block of not knowing who I was and not appreciating who I was and turned it into knowing who I am, appreciating who I am, appreciating who God made me to be, and realizing that I am an individual. I maybe have something different about me, but everybody does. No one in this room is the same exact weight. No one in this room may be the same exact complexion. No one in this room may have the same hair length. We're all individuals. And so that life stumbling block, I had to teach myself to just love me for me. Now that was life. Now in business, whenever you start a business, it may not be easy. Everyone don't always have everything lined up financially, emotionally, educationally. And when you don't have those things, a lot of times things could try to stand in your way. In 2005, I decided I wanted to start a non-profit organization, and I didn't know what I wanted it to be called or what to even do. I didn't know anyone who started their own business. I didn't know how to go and talk to people or who to talk to. I didn't think CEOs would talk to me and tell me what they did to start their business because I thought they would be like, no, I'm not going to tell you there are many of us in here who have different skill sets, who can probably help take your business to the next level. But sometimes we get so prideful, and that becomes a stumbling block for us. We gotta let that pride go and be able to talk to someone else who can help take us from one level to the next level, who can help introduce us to some people who may be able to help us with whatever it is that we're dealing with. There's no stumbling block that you can overcome. I have a picture here that says, it has stones on it. And it says the only difference between stumbling blocks and stepping stones is the way in which they are used. How would you use your stumbling blocks? Would you use them as stepping stones? Or would you allow them to keep bringing you down? When I think about stronghold, I think about something pulling you down. And if it's strong, it's going to pull on your weakness. And so if it's pulling on your weakness, you're already weak in there, you're going to be going down. But you can change it just by doing something different, just by trying something different. We hear all the time, if you do something all the same way, you're going to get the same result. But if you do something different, you may just get a different result. So instead of doing something the same way and constantly being pulled down, do something different. Enhance that skill. And then another stumbling block that I believe is very common is looking in a rearview mirror. We all know, we all have a past. We all know that our businesses, our life, it has a past. However, will you allow that small rearview mirror to affect your bright future ahead? If you're in your car, for those of us who have cars, when you look in your windshield, it's big and it's bright ahead of you. In your rearview mirror, you can only see so far back. So why so many times do we live in that past? Why is it more often do people live in that rearview mirror instead of looking ahead and going forward? There was a saying that I grew up knowing from the late Bobby Hill. He always told us as children, if I look back, I may go back. I may turn back, then go back. That's why I will always look forward. And I encourage you to do that as well. When you have those things that come up against you that may not be comfortable, that may be detrimental to you, keep looking forward. Keep trying. Don't give up. Because if you give up on you, the rest of the world will too. But if you don't give up on you,